The scene transitions to a subway station, where a digital sign announces the approaching train. With a rumble, the train speeds through the dark tunnel as its doors begin to close. Inside, Jungkook stands near the door, recalling a time when he mentioned they were getting off at the next stop. In his memory, a young woman's voice urges him to find a seat. His companions question his reluctance, asking what harm there is in sitting down for just one stop. He remembers a happy moment after work, meeting up with his family and laughing about a past incident involving their father. His expression becomes distant as he thinks back on the man he refers to as that old man. The pleasant memory dissolves into wisps of dark energy, revealing Jungkook is, and has been, completely alone. He clarifies to himself that it was just a thought, not a real meeting. His somber reflection is interrupted as a small child runs past him, calling for his mother. The mother gently scolds her son for running, but the boy points out that the train is nearly empty. The mother firmly tells her son that it doesn't matter whether the train is crowded or not. The train plunges into darkness. The scene shifts, revealing Jungkook sitting alone in a stark, empty space. He looks down at a small keychain shaped like a subway car, admitting to himself that he never actually took the subway. He reveals he was only imagining what the experience would be like from the comfort of his home. His gaze falls upon a dark, skeletal figure slumped in the corner of a dilapidated room. He reflects that this place cannot even be considered a home. This place is simply a room in a derelict, crumbling building. An apocalyptic wasteland, just as the old man he remembered had always described it. He recalls his father's stories of a world 40 years ago, long before he was born, a world that was completely different. His father described it as a safe and peaceful place. But that peace was shattered without warning. The cataclysm came in the form of what were called the Black Pillars. Colossal pillars of unknown origin began to rain down from the sky like a literal storm. They tore through the sky, descending upon the unsuspecting cities below. The impact was immediate and catastrophic. And just like that, the world ended, leaving only a fractured landscape and a handful of survivors. Or so the old man's story went. Jungkook always found most of his father's stories hard to believe, but one in particular seemed the most absurd. The story of the subway. He scoffs at the idea of strangers crammed into a tiny enclosed space. In his world, that would be a death sentence, but his father claimed it was possible because the old world was peaceful, a notion Jungkook dismisses as complete nonsense. He knows the era of peace is long gone, and anyone who speaks of it now is nothing more than a con artist. And yet a small part of him wishes he could experience riding a subway one day. He imagines speeding through a deep underground tunnel, feeling as if he were breaking through space itself. His daydream is cut short by the sound of footsteps. The rhythmic sound suggests soldiers, 2 of them. He peeks from his cover, wondering what a pair of stragglers would be doing out here. Deciding not to look for trouble, he plans to slip past them unnoticed. But his attempt at stealth fails as one of the soldiers comes to a sudden halt. Jungkook realizes with a sigh that they have found his trail. He accepts that a confrontation is now unavoidable. One of the soldiers, his voice muffled by a gas mask, nervously demands to know who is there. He then advises his partner to remain calm. Jungkook emerges from the shadows, calmly pointing out the noise they were making, and the soldiers are taken aback by his simple postman's uniform. They question his mission, and Jungkook explains that he's on his way to deliver an air raid warning, stating his regular mail duties are complete. He carefully observes their reaction. The soldier in the gas mask remarks on the difficulty of such a job, and Jungkook deduces that these 2 must be survivors. As the soldier begins to apologize for the interruption, Jungkook cuts him off, asking if they are hungry. Jungkook mentions he has some leftover food, causing the soldiers to react with stunned disbelief. He clarifies that this is a trade, asking if they have anything of value before he decides what he wants. The soldier in the gas mask eagerly agrees, rummaging through his pack and listing his available supplies, including bandages, a battery, and even antibiotics. He then asks the postman what he would like in return. The soldier's mind lands on the most valuable commodity in this wasteland, ammo. He looks up at the silent postman, confused. With a slight smirk, Jungkook calmly states his demand. The other soldier questions this, noting their ammo is 5.56mm, but Jungkook explains it's not for his personal use. He elaborates that a postman must travel light, making ammo the perfect currency as it is small, light, and holds significant value. The soldier tries to offer the antibiotics or battery instead, but Jungkook firmly cuts him off, stating that he only takes ammo. The soldier hesitates, explaining that they also need to conserve their ammunition. With a knowing smile, Jungkook accepts this and prepares a new offer. He presents his entire supply of food and water, proposing to trade it all for just one round, which shocks the soldier. Jungkook reiterates his demand for exactly one bullet, prompting the desperate soldier to offer his lighter as well. As the soldier insists the lighter is brand new, Jungkook wonders why they are so reluctant to part with a single bullet. The tense negotiation continues in the dilapidated structure. A sudden realization dawns on Jungkook. He calmly asks if their guns even contain any live ammunition. Enraged by the accusation, the gas-masked soldier grabs Jungkook by the collar, threatening to show him the empty magazine. Jungkook feigns surprise, trying to de-escalate by reminding them they're on the same side, but the soldier silences him at gunpoint. The soldier rants that they're doomed anyway and dismisses Jungkook as a useless postman. Unfazed, Jungkook finds the insult harsh, but focuses on the soldier's admission of hopelessness. He correctly deduces that they aren't just stragglers, but deserters who have abandoned their posts. With a chilling smirk, he reclassifies them as nothing more than common bandits. The insult sends the soldier into a rage, and he swings his rifle like a club. Jungkook easily evades the clumsy attack, calmly stating that this violent outburst only proves his point. He seizes the weapon, twisting it out of the soldier's grip, while confirming that they are indeed out of ammunition. The force of the counterattack shatters the soldier's gas mask. Seeing his partner fall, the second soldier draws a knife and lunges at Jungkook from behind. But Jungkook is too fast, blocking the strike with a hidden shield on his forearm, and noting the soldier's lethal intent. Jungkook calmly critiques the soldier's telegraphed movements. Pivoting on his hands, he kicks the soldier's arm, forcing him to drop his weapon. The soldier stumbles back, utterly baffled by the postman's skill. As he gets to his feet, Jungkook comments on the soldier's condescending attitude. He grinds the captured knife against his shield, sending sparks flying. He calls this underestimation a form of discrimination, as he cocks back his fist. A single powerful punch sends the soldier flying. The defeated soldier stares in shock, questioning how a lowly postman could have such equipment. He demands to know how Jungkook obtained an official officer-grade shield. Jungkook calmly notes that his shield has been scratched in a very bad spot. He asks the defeated soldier how he will compensate him, ignoring the man's warning that possessing such gear is a capital offense, and instead asking for more bullets. He then offers a suggestion for what he'll take as payment: the soldier's pistol. The man recognizes the weapon in shock, identifying it as a hunter's pistol. He demands to know who Jungkook really is. With a chilling smirk, Jungkook simply claims to be an average, everyday postman. Later, he inspects a tear in his uniform, anticipating the reprimand he'll receive at headquarters. He removes his jacket, contemplating a quick patch job. He reflects that considering the damage to his shield, he should have taken more from the soldiers, but at least he got enough to cover the repairs. Having dealt with the deserters, Jungkook decides it's time to get moving. He proceeds down a desolate street, with only 3 hours remaining until the next air raid. From a fortified wall, 2 lookouts spot his lone figure approaching. They question his presence, noting that they weren't expecting a mail delivery. Jungkook stops and presents an official-looking document. The sight of it startles the men, causing one to raise his rifle in alarm. Unfazed, Jungkook calmly informs them that he is delivering an air raid warning, and they have less than 3 hours. The younger soldier wonders why a postman is delivering the warning, and his companion explains that it's part of their job. The goggled man elaborates that a personal delivery from a postman means a massive, catastrophic pillar is about to drop. Cutting their chatter short, Jungkook reaches into his bag, announcing that he is now triggering the alarm. He presses a button on the device, causing it to flash red as the goggled man panics and orders his partner to get the captain. The goggled man then ushers Jungkook inside the settlement. Jungkook looks up, observing his surroundings. He notes the reinforced steel roof, silently impressed that they've managed to survive for so long. As the alarm blares, panic spreads among the residents, who question whether they have to leave and doubt Jungkook's identity. A young woman, Junghui, seems to have expected this day, defiantly deciding to stay put. Jungkook remains impassive. The goggled lookout brings Jungkook before the settlement's captain. The captain eyes him suspiciously, asking if he is the leader and reminding him that there are rules to follow when visiting a new settlement. Jungkook recalls the first rule of survival, to familiarize oneself with the unique laws of any new place. In a world where communication has been severed, The Postmen are the only link between isolated settlements. To survive, these communities have developed their own unique faiths and established their own sets of rules. Jungkook recalls another rule: never speak until you are spoken to first. The captain finally addresses him. He puts a friendly arm around Jungkook, acknowledging the difficult journey and inviting him for a drink. In a more private setting, the captain explains his desire to avoid panic and asks for confirmation about the Black Pillar strike. Jungkook presents the official document, confirming the data from headquarters predicts an arrival time of 2 hours. The captain studies the document, admitting the technical data is meaningless to him, but presumes Jungkook understands its dire implications. He then asks for an expert opinion on their chances of survival, but Jungkook coldly states that he is only a postman. The captain insists on a straight answer, reminding him this isn't their first raid, but Jungkook firmly repeats that he does not know. The captain's patience snaps, ordering Jungkook to leave if he has nothing useful to say, but the postman calmly invokes rule number 2, a rule which states that he is not to interfere. Jungkook then crouches down, explaining that he cannot leave yet as he still has work to finish. The captain questions if this is official government business, and Jungkook vaguely confirms his suspicion. From his bag, he deploys a small, 4-legged sensor, explaining that it's a device designed to measure the impact force of the Black Pillars. Its purpose is to compare the actual impact data with the predictions from headquarters, but the captain worries that their specially reinforced roof might interfere with the readings. Jungkook begins to relay the grim findings of the experts, clarifying that the Black Pillars don't simply fall from the sky. He explains they behave like living organisms, slowing their descent to land with pinpoint precision on their targets, rendering a reinforced roof utterly useless. Having delivered this devastating truth, Jungkook turns to leave, offering one final piece of advice. He reminds the captain that they have 1 hour and 50 minutes left, leaving the settlement's leader to make an impossible choice. Jungkook anticipates the same thing that happens every time an outsider appears. As expected, the residents emerge, desperately trying to barter for supplies. Jungkook cuts through the noise, asking if anyone has ammunition they're willing to trade. He stands as the center of attention, surrounded by the desperate figures. A voice calls out to the postman. The grenade trader admits he has no ammo, but offers a grenade as an alternative. The captain questions the logic of trading valuable supplies for a grenade that might be a dud. Jungkook, however, examines the explosive with a confident glint in his eye, certain that it works. He then asks the captain why he hasn't left, to which the leader replies he's staying, holding out hope for the roof. The captain then reveals he has a favor to ask. A cheerful young woman named Kyung-hwae approaches Jungkook and introduces herself. Before she can ask if he's returning to HQ, Jungkook places a hand on her head to silence her. He coldly demands to know what she wants. The captain explains that Kyung-hwae has an urgent delivery and wishes to accompany the postman to save on fees. Jungkook questions the logic of such a long journey for something she could simply hand over. He tells her to get lost, stating that only his shadow can follow him, but Kyung-hwae defiantly declares she will be his shadow. She then uses a flashlight to literally cast a shadow at his feet. Furious at the waste of battery life, Jungkook immediately rejects her absurd gesture. Undeterred, Kyung-hwae offers him a magazine of ammunition, instantly capturing his attention. The captain facepalms in weary resignation, muttering about the significance of that particular ammo. Kyung-hwae questions if postmen are meant to be trustworthy, but Jungkook expresses suspicion, noting the settlement doesn't seem wealthy enough to entrust such valuable ammo to a kid. He examines the magazine, confirming the top round is high-grade military surplus and it's nearly full. The captain fondly places a hand on Kyung-hwae's head, adding that she is also part of the payment. Jungkook suggests that for such a price, he could just deliver the message himself, but the captain insists he take Kyung-hwae to HQ, prompting Jungkook to ask about the captain's own plans. With a determined smile, the captain states that this settlement is his home. He explains that someone must stay behind to protect it, and he refuses to let Kyung-hwae be part of that gamble. Jungkook turns away, grimly reflecting that a roof can always be rebuilt. He tells Kyung-hwae to follow him, and she quickly agrees. As they walk through the ruins, Jungkook urges her to keep up, and Kyung-hwae nervously asks if the settlement's roof will truly be enough to stop the Black Pillar. Jungkook bluntly tells her it won't be, leaving her stunned as she asks why he didn't warn the others. Jungkook states that he has 2 reasons for his silence. He explains that first, those who are determined to stay will not leave, regardless of what he says. And second, in this desolate world, there is always a 1 in a million chance of survival. He reflects that they might just live just as he once did, as the countdown to the air raid reaches 30 minutes. Back at the settlement, the sky glows with an ominous, stormy light. Inside, the goggled man asks the captain if he truly has no plans to evacuate. The captain expresses his faith in the roof that has always protected them, even as he pours a drink from a treasured bottle. The goggled man accepts the drink offered to him. The captain then asks if the postman said anything else before departing. The goggled man recalls Jungkook's chillingly ambiguous statement that a roof can always be rebuilt. The goggled man is left to ponder the postman's ominous final words. The captain dismisses the comment, stating that only the man who said it knows its true meaning. Changing the subject, the goggled man asks if there's anything to eat, and the captain confirms he has some jerky. He then corrects himself with a sad smile, clarifying that he used to have some. Elsewhere, Kyung-hoi is seen eating a large piece of jerky. She marvels at her seemingly endless supply of snacks and offers some to Jungkook, who declines. He turns and continues on their path. As they walk, Jungkook examines the magazine he was given, noting that while it holds 30 rounds, the different top bullet indicates at least one is missing.
He reasons that the captain wouldn't have used a round before giving the magazine to Kyung-hoi, leading to a single conclusion.
He turns and thanks her for keeping her promise, leaving her completely bewildered. Kyung-hoi admits that while the captain said postmen were trustworthy, she was afraid Jungkook would simply take the ammunition and leave her behind. He coldly dismisses her concern, stating that she is the one following him and he is paying her no mind. Unfazed, she insists on thanking him properly. She beams and makes a specific hand gesture, offering her sincere thanks to the postman. Jungkook looks completely baffled and asks her what the gesture is supposed to mean. She explains that in her settlement, it's a sign of gratitude, prompting a sigh from Jungkook. Kyung-hoi introduces herself by name, but he continues to address her as Kid. He explains that the meaning of gestures differs between settlements, and now that she's outside her own, she must follow the rules of the wider world. He demonstrates a different way to show gratitude by clasping his hands together. Jungkook tells her to express it this way from now on, and she awkwardly tries to copy the gesture. Kyung-hoi is suddenly startled by a sound in the distance. Jungkook calmly informs her that it is time. The sky above them erupts with a violent flash of lightning. Taking cover, Jungkook instructs Kyung-hoi to cover her ears, warning her that the coming sound will be deafening. He begins to explain the history of their world, stating that the sky once held a silent fury. He recounts a phrase someone once uttered, describing how the black pillars hammered down into the earth like nails. Jungkook elaborates that decades have passed since the old era collapsed, and these pillars are the reason humanity has never recovered. He explains that the pillars seem to possess intelligence, targeting and destroying only major facilities across the land. The only places safe from these raids are HQ and the geofront built underground, a term Kyung-hoi has never heard before. His explanation is cut short as he announces that the event is beginning. From the sky, a colossal black pillar plummets toward the earth with terrifying speed. Countless pillars descend upon the ruined cityscape, a rain of absolute destruction. Kyung-hoi collapses in terror, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the cataclysm unfolding before her. Jungkook, however, stands unshaken, calmly remarking that the kid's settlement simply had bad luck. He elaborates that not every air raid involves a pillar of such ridiculous size. He reflects on his original purpose for being there, to recover a measurement device, a vital piece of equipment in an era where communication networks are impossible to build. However, seeing the wreckage of the device, he concludes that while its communication core is precious, recovery is now out of the question. With his objective nullified, he turns to Kyung-hoi, stating that their work is done and they are heading back to headquarters. He pauses, noticing her kneeling on the ground, and asks what she is doing. Kyung-hoi, having donned a gas mask, silently stares back at the devastation that was once her home. Jungkook tells her it's time to leave, and she quietly agrees. They begin their journey back, walking away from the ruins. As they walk, Kyung-hoi silently weeps for her lost home. She calls out to Jungkook to get his attention. He remarks that while the black pillars are a disaster, there is one silver lining. He continues, explaining that after an air raid, the stars become clearer and more visible than on any other day. Kneeling down to her level, he suggests that it's not all bad. Kyung-hoi asks if this is his attempt at comforting her. He stands up abruptly, denying any attempt at comfort, and stating that he simply hates crying because it's a waste of energy for the long journey ahead. As they walk through the ruins, Gyung-hui asks why he chose to be a postman, to which he retorts that it's a stupid question, as he obviously does it to make a living. She presses on, asking about his dreams, but he deflects, questioning what mail is so important that she would go to all this trouble. Exasperated, Jungkook calls her annoying but finally relents, saying he will show her something special. He holds up a small, rattling keychain shaped like a train car. With a faint, rare smile, he asks if she has ever heard of a subway, a device that carries people around. Gyung-hui deadpans that it looks small enough to eat, forcing him to clarify that it's just a miniature of something much larger. He closes his eyes, a fond look on his face as he tells her to imagine it. He describes a relic from the old era, a vehicle that could carry hundreds of people underground, expressing his hope that he might ride one someday. Gyung-hui giggles, teasing that he's far more innocent than he looks, much to his annoyance. Her expression then turns serious as she asks how long he plans to hide it, leaving him completely confused. Gyung-hui tells him to stop feigning ignorance, accusing him of hiding one of the bullets from the magazine her captain gave him. Unimpressed, Jungkook states that he isn't petty enough to care about her hidden bullet. He explains that he just wanted to pressure her into being quiet, but is left speechless when she confesses that she ate it. He explodes in disbelief, questioning her sanity for eating a bullet, while she meekly apologizes, explaining she ran out of jerky. Utterly exasperated, Jungkook mutters that she has some serious bad habits that need fixing. He sighs, placing a hand on her shoulder and telling her that next time she's hungry, she should just ask him for food. He suddenly freezes, his expression turning serious as Gyung-hui questions his change in demeanor. In a swift motion, he pulls her behind him, his gaze fixed on something unseen. He urgently whispers for her to stay completely still. Peeking around the corner of a ruined structure, he ominously states that the black pillars weren't the only cause of the world's collapse. He explains that black monsters born from the pillars might be lurking nearby. Drawing a blade, he resolves to handle the threat as quietly as possible. A creature turns its head, its single eye glowing, but his eyes widen in shock. Suddenly, the sound of gunfire erupts from behind him. He looks back to see Gyung-hui has opened fire on the creatures. As the monsters reel from the unexpected attack, Jungkook realizes the truth. He understands that she had ammo hidden the entire time. He grits his teeth in utter frustration at her reckless move. Alerted by the noise, the remaining monsters now charge directly at Gyung-hui. With no time to argue, Jungkook springs into action, intercepting the charging monster with his knife. He suddenly realizes there's still one more creature. A much larger, more menacing monster now looms directly over the terrified Gyung-hui. Jungkook ignores the larger threat for a moment, focusing on eliminating the immediate danger. His eyes are fixed on his target. He plunges his blade into the monster's eye, causing it to violently dissolve. Gyung-hui is splattered by the creature's remains. Jungkook lands and calls out to her as she falls to the ground. He angrily asks why she didn't stay still, but she explains that she knew his single knife wouldn't be enough. He questions why she lied about the ammunition, and she simply states that the captain taught her how to survive. She explains that her captain taught her to always keep an ace up her sleeve, then praises Jungkook's skill before he cuts her off, telling her to save her strength. As he reaches for her, a strange number appears, indicating a critically low percentage. Jungkook realizes that even after using all his medicine, her chances are slim, and the gunshot will have attracted more monsters. He curses in frustration, trying to dismiss the grim statistic. But he knows the truth of their dire situation. Gyung-hui, accepting her fate is sealed, asks him for one last favor. She holds out a blood-stained letter, reminding him of his offer to let her register directly. He takes the letter as she formally asks him, the postman, to accept her mail. He reads the sender's details, confirming her full name is Gyung-hui Park. His expression shifts as he reads the destination in Seoul, realizing it's a place that no longer exists. She begs him, insisting that the letter is something worth risking his life for. Jungkook's attention is suddenly drawn to the ruins, where he notices that other groups are already present. Gyung-hui interrupts his thoughts, asking if he still has the item he traded for back at Bogumjari. With a tearful smile, she offers it as payment for the delivery, but asks him to make her a promise. Nearby, the black monsters watch them intently. Lying amidst the rubble, she calls out to the postman one more time. The monstrous creatures begin to close in, their glowing eyes fixed on her from above. She reveals her plan, to use the grenade he acquired to draw the monster's attention. She holds the grenade firmly, ready to act. She pleads with him to take this chance to escape. He looks back as she tells him she's counting on him to deliver the mail. With a final tearful smile, she thanks the postman. Without hesitation, she pulls the pin on the grenade. The monsters are immediately drawn to the bright light. A massive explosion engulfs the area. The blast incinerates the creatures, leaving behind their smoldering remains. Jungkook steps over the corpse of one of the monsters. He reaches into its remains and pulls out a glowing core, confirming his suspicion. He stands alone amidst the devastation, the mission complete. He reflects that after this, he won't be able to sleep easily for a while. The scene shifts to the massive, imposing new government complex. A tall, dark tower looms over the sterile landscape, a bastion of order in the wasteland. Sometime earlier, Jungkook walks down a dimly lit corridor. He is greeted by a cheerful man, Director Bae, who welcomes him back from his duties. The director notes Jungkook's somber expression, but quickly dismisses it, praising him as the top-performing postman of the month. He then reminds Jungkook about an upcoming special mission briefing that he must attend. Though Jungkook claims to be tired, the director insists he go, promising it will be interesting. Later, Jungkook sits with his fellow postman as Director Bae begins the briefing. The director starts to present the mission details, but Jungkook's mind flashes to a memory of Gyeonghui introducing herself for the first time. In the memory, Gyeonghui explains that the meaning of gestures often differs between settlements. She then presents a grenade pin, telling him that this is how he should express thanks from now on. The memory ends, and back in the present, a postman raises his hand to ask a question. He inquires if they will be using vehicles, given the substantial weight of the delivery. Director Bae acknowledges that the information is internally sensitive, but decides to share it. He points to a map of the delivery route, which another postman immediately declares is impossible to traverse. The director confidently states that it is indeed possible, revealing that the subway is being rebuilt. The mention of the subway sends a visible shock through Jungkook. Director Bae explains that the mission's objective is to transport military supplies through transit points using the secretly reconstructed subway. He continues stating that preliminary work is required before the full reconstruction, and this is where their assistance is needed. A man in a suit and glasses steps forward to explain that this operation requires only postmen with excellent track records. He clarifies that this mission is essentially a pre-selection process for those who will be recruited for the main project. As the official mentions that points will be awarded to participants, Jungkook silently wonders which department this unfamiliar man belongs to. The official then instructs those who wish to participate to move to the next room, and Jungkook immediately stands up. A rare look of genuine excitement crosses his face. He glances at his train keychain, realizing he might finally get to see a subway in person. He clenches his fist, filled with the hope that he might even get to ride one. However, as he goes to join the others, the official stops him, stating that he is an exception. The man looks down at him, addressing him by his full name, Woo Jungkook. Confused, Jungkook asks what he means, but the official states that he was ordered to deliver the mission directly to him. Jungkook realizes the official came knowing his name and face, and a bad feeling begins to creep in. The official presents a clipboard, outlining the assignment he has supposedly been given. The mission is for Gumcheon-gu, a government cooperative settlement, which Jungkook recognizes as an unusually cushy assignment. He recalls Director Bae's earlier words, now suspecting the director pulled strings to get him this easy job. He speculates that Director Bae gave him a safe route to protect his own performance record, and asks if he should start right away. However, the official pulls the clipboard away, stating that he's giving this job to someone else. Jungkook questions why he was shown the mission at all, but the official simply repeats that his orders were to explain it to him directly. The man clarifies that while he was told to persuade Jungkook, the final authority on personnel assignments rests with him. Jungkook processes the absurd situation. The official will explain the mission, but will not actually assign it to him. The official then comments that he's reviewed Jungkook's background and found it to be very clean, a statement Jungkook confirms, admitting only to some minor offenses. The official elaborates, stating the problem is that Jungkook's record is too clean, as if he didn't exist before becoming a postman. He speculates that a person with such a thoroughly concealed identity must either possess incredible ability or have powerful backing, adding that he personally despises people who rely on connections. Jungkook asks if this thinly veiled accusation is directed at him, but the official calmly denies it. He explains that since Jungkook seemed curious, he is simply introducing himself and his dislike for sneaky people. Jungkook challenges him, pointing to his performance record, which the official confirms is flawless. always ranked #1 and easily solving every mission without taking easy assignments. As the official states this job is only for the very best, Jungkook questions if his skills are being doubted just because he hasn't taken on dangerous jobs. The official bluntly confirms that is correct. He then pulls out a radio, stating he has an important call and assumes Jungkook understands the situation. As he walks away, the official offers to pay the maximum delivery fee for a letter, adding that it can be rewritten if lost. Jungkook calmly accepts the mission, vowing to show the official the true meaning of express delivery. The scene shifts as Jungkook slams his hand on a desk, asking if his request is impossible. Director Bae confirms it's possible, but questions why Jungkook would take such a tough mission from them, to which Jungkook replies he is simply handling it reliably. The director notes that while modifying documents is simple, he's surprised by the request and asks if Jungkook managed to get close to the official. With a confident smirk, Jungkook says he is trying to get closer, prompting Director Bae to warn him not to die. He reaffirms his resolve to prove his skills, seeing this as a step toward his dream of the subway. The flashback ends, returning to the present as Jungkook recalls his grim calculations regarding his and Gyunghoe's chances of survival. He remembers Gyunghoe's final tearful words of gratitude. The memory jolts Jungkook awake in his dimly lit room. He sits on the edge of his bed, acknowledging to himself that her memory would continue to bother him. The scene returns to the past, where Jungkook encounters the official in glasses, who greets him. With a knowing smile, Jungkook asks if the letter the official is holding is the one he's meant to deliver. The official tries to brush him off, but Jungkook stops him, insisting that he is also busy. He then reveals that his mission is to deliver the very letter the official is holding, leaving the man stunned. The official expresses his disbelief, stating he had confirmed the assigned postman's name, but Jungkook explains he is merely a substitute. Jungkook hands over the official authorization, wryly noting that the change was processed according to the principles the official values so highly. He then poses a question. If he completes the delivery 2 days ahead of schedule, would that be sufficient proof of his skill? The official listens in stony silence. Annoyed, he questions Jungkook's motivation, asking if this is all about pride. Jungkook coolly dismisses the question, claiming he is simply doing his job. He then urges the official to hand over the letter so he can begin. The official in glasses gives him the mail, but calls out to him before he can depart. He begins to make a promise, stating that if Jungkook can actually return unharmed within 2 days. He trails off, deciding against it, and instead simply asks that they meet again alive. With the simple delivery mission now his, Jungkook turns and walks down the long corridor. He glances at the letter, noting the sender's name is somewhat unusual. More importantly, he is struck by the envelope's design, which is covered in cute bunnies and carrots. He finds it hard to imagine the stern officials using such stationery as he walks away. The flashback ends, returning to the present where the same blood-stained envelope now holds the glowing core. Jungkook recalls the moment he saw the large black monster, deducing that a creature leading a pack was certain to have a core. He reflects on the core, a prize obtained only through Gyunghoe's ultimate sacrifice. Holding the glowing orb, he remains silent and contemplative. He considers making a stop somewhere before he continues on his way. His thoughts drift to the day the world ended, when the heavens seemed to harbor a silent rage. The black pillars descended upon the earth like nails driven into a coffin. From these monolithic structures, a creeping darkness emerged. Demons spread like wildfire, devouring what was left of humanity, but in that despair, a final gift was granted. This gift was the core, though it was unclear if it represented a glimmer of hope or the seed of an even greater curse. Jungkook admits to himself that he cannot say for certain which it is. Walking through the desolate structure, he acknowledges that he has finally obtained a rare core. He notes, however, that he is incapable of appraising a core on his own. He presents the object to a core appraiser named Heo Woong, who looks at it with disdain, questioning if something so seemingly useless is worth his time. Jungkook insists, prompting the appraiser to wonder how a simple postman could have acquired such an item. Jungkook calmly states that he will pay the fee and just wants it checked. The appraiser turns away in disgust, declaring the core to be junk without a proper look and telling Jungkook to get out. Jungkook reflects that despite dealing with this appraiser for years, the man never recognizes him. This is because Heo Woong, at 70 years old, suffers from dementia. Resigned, Jungkook decides he has no choice but to use a familiar story, mentioning the appraiser's daughter. The old man's demeanor instantly changes to one of alarm as he asks if something has happened to her. Jungkook reminds him of a message he delivered for his daughter, leaving Heo Woong in a state of shocked realization. Jungkook confirms the message was delivered safely, adding that the man sends his thanks. Heo Woong scoffs, dismissing the thanks as unnecessary for such a trivial matter. With his memory jogged, he agrees to do the inspection for free as a favor. He even offers Jungkook some ammo, but the postman internally declines, unable to accept a free service. The reason for his refusal is simple. He has never actually met Heo Woong's daughter. As the old man walks off, Jungkook reflects that Heo Woong never had a daughter to begin with. She is a fabrication of his dementia, and playing along is the only way to get the appraisal done. Heo Woong returns with the results, calling the core useless yet simultaneously the highest purity he has ever seen, prompting Jungkook to ask for specifics. The appraiser gives a grim warning, stating the failure rate for using the core is a staggering 99%. Jungkook processes the immense risk, understanding that such cores must be handled with extreme caution. However, in the rare case of success, the core will reveal its true powerful form. Heo Woong explains that in this ruined world, there are many types of cores, such as energy cores that replace electricity and communication cores that reconnect society. But the most valuable of all is the ability core, a rare item that grants its user special powers. The appraiser warns that most have a failure rate over 95%, making them too dangerous to even consider, and Jungkook clenches his fist in frustration. As he leaves the building, a voice calls out to him. Jungkook turns with a look of annoyance, recognizing the person he had hoped to avoid. A woman with piercing red eyes, Dr. Mayong, confronts him for manipulating her patient by mentioning his imaginary daughter. Jungkook calmly replies that he is paying a fair price for the appraisal, not taking anything for free. Dr. Mayong dismisses his point, arguing it is an issue of basic humanity and questioning if he has never experienced hardship himself. Her words trigger a memory of a superior, asking if someone was requesting help without payment, a sentiment that was coldly confirmed. He then recalls asking Director Bae to take over another postman's mission, only to find it was already assigned. In the flashback, Jungkook admits he lied about another postman having a stomachache to take his place, sending a note because he felt awkward asking directly. Back in the present, Dr. Mayong chides him for his impersonal methods, asking why he couldn't just visit the clinic. As she continues to lecture him, Jungkook internally notes that her personality is the exact reason he avoids meeting her in person. She pats his shoulder, telling him that he owes her for this and must help her in the future, to which he gives a dismissive response. Dr. Mayong's demeanor turns cold as she demands he treat her with the respect her status deserves. She reminds him that whatever he was as a hunter, he is now just a postman. The scene changes to a dark, solitary room where an ominous red light glows. Alone with the core, Jungkook reflects on the fact that some people have successfully used these items despite the low success rate. Those who survived the process managed to acquire unique abilities. These new ability users were then granted the right to join a secret group called the Hunters, carrying out clandestine missions. He then recalls Dr. Mayong's shocking revelation. She is also one of the survivors who used a core and lived.
Welcome to the absolute nightmare that is the Republic of Korea, where the clock is ticking on a high-stakes delivery. If our guy doesn't make it back in 48 hours, he's legally dead and his gear gets snatched by the state. Talk about a brutal work environment. This dude is literally walking into a death trap just to clock in. Look at him, Woo Jeongkuk, looking way too calm for a guy who just got held up by a doctor. He's got that focused, slightly annoyed expression like he's just trying to beat the morning commute. Meanwhile, the city looks like it got hit by a wrecking ball, totally abandoned and falling apart. Even the local wildlife is watching him like he's a walking snack in this desolate wasteland. Namdong-gu is a total lawless pit where settlements rise and fall faster than a crypto scam. Heading straight into AAA, a place so isolated it's basically off the grid and completely off the map. He's sitting there checking his map, trying to find a safe spot that probably doesn't exist anymore. Jeongkuk stares at the absolute wreckage, wondering if a black pillar turned this place into a graveyard. He's weighing his options with that cold, calculated look, basically asking himself if he should just bail. Suddenly, he snaps his head around, hearing someone complain about the price of something. Two guys are standing on the ruins like they're in a standoff, arguing over resources and routes. Our boy realizes these randoms are actually fellow postmen, which is just his luck today. He's lurking in the shadows, trying to get a read on them before he makes a move. Deciding to play it cool, he figures he might as well use them for some quick directions. He's clearly skeptical of these clowns, wondering if they're even worth the trouble of a conversation. One of the guys is already walking off in a huff, leaving his partner to deal with the awkwardness. Then these mysterious hooded figures show up out of nowhere, looking like they're ready to cause some real chaos. Jungkook stops dead in his tracks, staring at the massive, crumbling ruins of the city. He's confronted by a hooded scavenger who's clearly looking to shake him down for supplies. The guy offers a guide service for a fee, but Jungkook knows a scam when he sees one. Our boy narrows his eyes, his internal monologue screaming that this is a total waste of time. The scavenger just grins under that hood, acting all friendly while probably plotting a backstab. Jungkook keeps his guard up, remembering the golden rule of the wasteland: trust absolutely no one. He's got zero patience for these peace-loving charlatans, knowing they're just full of absolute garbage. Walking away from the weirdos, he's ready to ditch them before they become a real problem. Suddenly, some old guy in a trapper hat grabs his arm, getting way too handsy with the compliments. The old man snaps his fingers, acting like he's the boss of this entire operation. The older postman is already pacing ahead, wondering why our guy is lagging behind. Jungkook catches up, looking totally unimpressed as he asks how this stranger knows his route. The old guy acts like it's obvious, claiming they're both headed to the same spot in Bucheon. Our boy quickly corrects him, clarifying that he's actually trekking all the way to Incheon. Suddenly, the old man pivots, claiming he's going to Incheon too, talk about a convenient coincidence. They start walking together, but Jungkook is already side-eyeing the weirdos who tried to scam them. The old guy dismisses the hooded creeps as local thugs trying to lock down the territory. Jungkook is still skeptical, wondering how this random geezer managed to sniff out the danger. The old man proudly credits his skills in physiognomy, basically saying he judges people by their faces. Our boy is clearly done with this conversation, trying to ditch the self-proclaimed expert immediately. This old guy is laying it on thick, acting like they're long-lost family members. They're trekking through the ruins together, with the old man yapping about their shared Danyang roots. Jungkook is clearly over it, just wanting the geezer to shut his trap so he can focus. He's actually got a plan for letting this weirdo tag along, keeping his guard up the whole time. The old man keeps pushing, but Jungkook is playing it cool, acting like he's just another traveler. It's a calculated move to keep an eye on the guy, especially since he's clearly not a rookie. They find a spot to crash as the sun dips, with the old man calling the shots. Jungkook drops like a rock, but he's still got his hand glued to his bag. He's definitely not letting his guard down, keeping that weapon ready even while he's supposedly resting. He's only taking a quick nap, staying sharp enough to wake up if things go sideways. Jungkook's hand snaps to his side, drawing his sidearm with the speed of a pro. He levels the barrel right at the intruder, ready to turn this hallway into a shooting gallery. Kim doesn't even flinch, just drops that smug look and acknowledges the kid's sharp reflexes. Our boy isn't playing around, warning the old man that slow reactions are a death sentence. Both of them stand locked in a tense standoff, guns drawn and nerves absolutely fried. They trade a look of pure, icy suspicion, sizing each other up for any sign of weakness. Suddenly, a shadow emerges from the darkness, and they both pivot to aim at the target. The poor guy in the postman uniform starts bawling, begging them not to pull the trigger. Jungkook and Kim hold their ground, looking at the crying mess like he's a total joke. The old man eyes the postman with pure confusion, wondering if this is the same guy from earlier. The mysterious postman steps into the light, looking like he's been through a total meat grinder. Jungkook doesn't hesitate, leveling his piece at the guy and barking a cold order to freeze. The stranger tries to play it cool, acting like they're just old pals catching up. But Jungkook isn't buying the act, keeping his gun steady while the guy takes another step. He demands the guy show his hands and open that jacket, suspecting a trap. The older man stands there looking absolutely defeated, his expression completely hollowed out. Kim stares in total disbelief, realizing the guy he's looking at is actually his old partner. Jungkook watches as the guy slowly unzips his jacket, revealing a glowing red light underneath. Holy crap, it's a literal bomb strapped to his chest, beeping like a countdown to oblivion. Turns out those hooded scavengers didn't just rob him, they turned him into a walking suicide vest. The traumatized postman pleads his case, claiming he saw a kid with the raiders. Jungkook isn't buying the sob story for a second, calling out the classic raider bait. He points out the cold logic of the wasteland: no sane settlement risks a 5-year-old. That kid is just a living prop designed to make people drop their guard. Jungkook and Kim share a look, both knowing exactly how deep this trap goes. He scans the darkness, fully aware that the real threat is watching them from nearby. The plan is simple for these predators: use the bomb as bait to lure in suckers. Jungkook tells the poor guy he's already a walking corpse, then orders Kim to get ready. He forces the terrified man to hit the deck, keeping his pistol trained on the target. Jungkook stays ice cold, demanding to know if there are any more explosives hidden on the body. Jiangkuk crouches down, demanding the broken postman spill every single detail he has on these psychos. The guy's hand trembles against the cold concrete as he starts to recount the absolute horror. He describes a massive force of dozens of underlings and 2 leaders calling the shots. Apparently, they were plotting a full-scale assault on some unsuspecting settlement. Jiangkuk presses him for the location, but the poor guy is too far gone to even remember. He admits they were talking about hiring mercenaries, which confirms this isn't just some local street gang. The scavenger in the hood was likely one of the big bosses running this twisted show. Kim stares down at the mess, clearly disgusted by the state of his former colleague. Jiangkuk walks away, promising to report this disaster to headquarters if he actually survives the night. He looks out over the ruined skyline, reflecting on how death in this world is just a constant, quiet neighbor. Jiangkuk and his new acquaintance keep moving through the dark, industrial corridors. Meanwhile, a lone figure lies sprawled on the cold floor, completely broken by the encounter. The 2 postmen walk in silence, their shadows stretching long across the desolate concrete. Neon lights flicker above a grim bar, casting a blood-red glow over the ruins. Jiangkuk holds a small, mysterious cube, contemplating the heavy weight of his next move. He sits among the rubble, questioning the old man about his obsession with the raiders. The geezer plays it coy, hinting that he might just be looking for some bloody payback. Jiangkuk shifts the conversation to the ability core, noting how those scavengers hit the jackpot. He stares at his bag, realizing that having a final insurance policy is easier said than done. Even with a core in hand, death is always waiting to collect its due at 100%. The old man is really pushing his luck, calling our boy little brother like they're actually related. He's fishing for info on that rare sidearm, acting like he's heard rumors about a laser-firing barrel. Jiangkuk shuts that down fast, keeping his cool while telling the geezer to mind his own business. The old man keeps digging, bringing up the Wu clan and acting like he's got all the answers. Our guy doesn't even blink, dropping the truth that he's a former hunter who just walked away. He's done with the group life, preferring the lonely, dangerous grind of a postman over any team. The old man just chuckles, clearly amused by how this kid is handling the mission differently. He suggests they camp out in a nearby ruin, but Jiangkuk spots signs of monsters lurking. He frames his hands like a camera, focusing his vision on the danger hidden in the shadows. That intense, glowing eye tells us everything. He spotted something truly terrifying, and it's definitely not a no. Jiangkuk frames the desolate skyline with his fingers, calculating the near-zero odds of survival. The old man probes him with a question about their connection, but Jiangkuk stays tight-lipped. He brushes off the inquiry with a vague hunch, keeping his true motives buried deep. Waking up from a restless nap, he realizes the morning light has already crept in. He scans the empty ruins, calling out for the old man who has vanished into thin air. Silence hangs heavy over the area, marking his failure to track the guy as a massive blunder. Where that mysterious physiognomist wandered off to doesn't even matter anymore. The real problem is that he didn't notice the guy slipping away, which is a total rookie mistake. He stands alone in the dark, cursing himself for letting his guard slip and going soft again. And in that haunting flashback, he remembers the bloodied girl, realizing his trauma is still pulling the strings. Jiangkuk shakes off the mental fog, realizing that overthinking is just a fast track to getting himself killed. He snaps back to the mission, his eyes scanning the horizon for a way into the fortress. The silhouette of AAA looms ahead, a massive radio tower standing like a tombstone over the ruins. Those salvaged flak guns are mounted everywhere, turning the entire settlement into a bristling, ironclad death trap. It's a relic of the old world, repurposed by deserters who turned anti-aircraft tech into a personal playground. The government gave up on this place for a reason, leaving it to rot as a hopeless settlement. Jiangkuk stares at the gate, his mind racing to find a gap in their brutal perimeter. He marches toward the entrance, looking like a lone wolf walking straight into a den of lions. His smoking companion checks him on his suicidal plan, questioning why he's so hellbent on this. She flashes a cryptic, knowing smirk, clearly betting that his legendary luck will carry him through again. Jiangkuk stands his ground as a guard in full tactical gear levels a rifle at him. The guard makes it crystal clear that this settlement doesn't take mail and wants him gone. Our boy isn't even fazed, just dropping a sarcastic remark about how much they hate the service. He keeps his cool, reminding the guard that postmen do way more than just drop off letters. The guard's eyes narrow behind his mask, clearly realizing that a warning about a black pillar is coming. Jiangkuk pulls out a delivery envelope with a grin, acting like he's just here for a routine job. The guard isn't having it, pointing toward the massive flak guns and threatening to cut him in half. Those heavy cannons swivel into position, looking like they're ready to turn our hero into red mist. Jiangkuk just narrows his eyes, betting his life that they won't waste precious ammo on a single courier. He smirks at the sheer audacity of the situation, already planning how to pull off this impossible delivery. Jungkook explains the grind, noting that postmen chase high-danger zones to boost their performance stats. He figures one risky run is worth more than 10 safe ones, banking on his legendary luck. The guard calls him out for being a total lunatic, questioning if his stats matter more than his life. Our guy admits he's got no luck in this apocalypse, but he's still delivering that mail. He's staring down the barrel of a rifle, completely unfazed while the tension hits a breaking point. Jungkook keeps his cool, taunting the guard to either fire the flak cannon or accept the delivery. He's betting everything on a hunch, claiming he knows for a fact that the guard's gun is empty. The guard stands there frozen, realizing this courier is calling his bluff with absolute confidence. Shock hits the guard as he wonders how this stranger figured out their ammo supply was dry. He grips the useless rifle, terrified by the realization that Jungkook is way stronger than he looks. Jungkook is literally smiling while staring down a gun barrel, which is absolute psycho behavior. He moves with terrifying speed, knocking the guard flat on his back in a single motion. The guard is reeling from the shock, realizing he just tried to bully a total monster. Jungkook looms over him, his silhouette radiating pure dark energy that screams danger. He tells the guy to back off, his voice calm and cold as a winter morning. The guard is still scrambling on the ground, trying to process how this kid flipped the script. Jungkook stands there looking bored, like he's just waiting for the guy to stop being a nuisance. Turns out, in the past, an interrogator was digging into Jungkook's background, looking for dirt. The suit points out that his record is suspiciously clean, like he didn't even exist before. Jungkook just brushes it off with a deadpan look, acting like having no past is totally normal. Jungkook's eyes narrow, revealing the hidden truth behind his mysterious, clean slate past. He admits that before he was a courier, he was living a double life as a hunter. Flashback time, he's standing tall, looking like a total pro while training a squad of recruits. He was the guy teaching them how to survive in this hellscape, no room for mistakes. Then the scene shifts to a nightmare, massive glowing eyes watching them from the dark. Jungkook looks absolutely haunted, the red light reflecting off his face like a bad omen. He recalls the brutal reality of the job, leaving a trail of bodies in his wake. Eventually, he just quit, realizing he wasn't built for the politics of a group. That decision cost him his rank, getting him demoted to a grunt and sent to die. But even in that misery, he met an oddball subordinate who wouldn't stop calling him sir. The old contact recognizes our guy, noting how much time has passed since they last crossed paths. Jungkook flashes a grin, admitting he's grown up quite a bit while asking how he should address his former superior. He keeps it professional, settling on the title of Mr. Postman to avoid any awkward military formalities. The veteran gives him the lowdown on the next steps, pointing him toward the captain for his official orders. Jungkook nods along, fully aware that in this hellhole military procedure is the only thing keeping them from total chaos. He admits he knows the drill all too well, and honestly, he absolutely hates every second of it. They reach the command center where the captain waits, ordering the subordinate to step outside for a private chat. The captain gets straight to the point, grilling our boy about the massive scene he caused at the gate. Jungkook keeps his cool, confirming his history with the sergeant while downplaying the whole incident as a minor misunderstanding. He stares deep into the captain's eyes, realizing that this base is hiding way more than just a few supplies. The place is a total dump, featuring a trash bag and a water cooler that reeks of rot. It's clear these people aren't even getting the bare minimum of supplies to survive. The situation is hitting a breaking point, and the limit is staring them right in the face. Our guy steps into the room, his boots hitting the floor with a heavy, ominous thud. He looks at the situation with a sharp, judgmental gaze, clearly unimpressed by the lack of order. Jungkook shuts down the talk of reporting, making it clear he's a postman now, not a soldier. He strikes a pose that's almost too cheerful, acting like he's just here to spread some love. The conversation gets real dark, with talk of disgusting corporate life and the stench of decay. He pulls out the envelope, insisting that this specific delivery requires a direct, hand-to-hand drop. The captain drops the bombshell that he knows exactly who Jungkook was back in the military. Jungkook is basically holding the captain hostage, with a deal that sounds way too good to be true. The captain looks like he's weighing the cost of his own life against the value of his secrets. Flashing back 30 minutes, we see them standing in the middle of the room like two sharks circling. Jungkook is already laying out his terms, acting like he's the one running this entire show. He pulls out a bag, and man, the sheer amount of loot inside is enough to make anyone sweat. 25 ability cores are dumped out, glowing with that eerie, high-stakes energy that screams pure power. He's sitting there, totally relaxed, telling the guards he needs to inspect those massive flak guns. The captain looks genuinely confused, wondering why a simple courier is so obsessed with their heavy artillery. Jungkook drops the act for a second, his eyes turning cold as he admits he might have to fight. The guard stands there looking totally stunned, confirming that the captain really did sign off on this madness. Jeongkuk stands before the massive flak gun, accepting that this detour is just part of the job. He knows that if he had walked away, he would have been kicked out before the delivery even started. He stares at the heavy machinery, realizing he's officially neck-deep in a massive, dangerous headache. The sergeant watches him with wide eyes, clearly shocked that a postman knows how to handle military hardware. Jeongkuk doesn't care about the surprise, he just wants to see if the gear is actually functional. His eye glows with that signature ability, letting him peer into the mechanical soul of the weapon. He sees the probability of success and failure as raw numbers, breaking down the machine's entire reality. He explains that true clarity requires physical contact, a technique he calls linking to get the job done. He presses his hand against the cold steel, forcing a connection to read the weapon's status. The gear is totally fine, leaving the sergeant to roast him for sounding weirdly disappointed about it. The sergeant is totally geeking out over how fast Jeongkuk handled that heavy machinery. But our boy just shrugs it off, keeping his eyes locked on the cold, hard data. He's already planning to wreck those flak guns later to clear his own escape route. The sergeant leads the way through the base, yapping about this mysterious doctor named Jo Shinhai. Jeongkuk looks genuinely curious, wondering why a military doctor would be stuck in this dump. Turns out she was a vet who pivoted to human medicine when the manpower crisis hit. She's living as a civilian now, which means she might actually be a sane person. The sergeant gets all nervous, warning that the older sister is a total nightmare to deal with. Meanwhile, some suit named Cho Yonghan is lurking in the background, looking like a corporate snake. Suddenly, a massive door slams shut right in Jeongkuk's face, cutting off the chatter instantly. A heavy door slams shut in our faces, leaving us with nothing but a blunt order to get out. But the blonde woman isn't backing down, standing her ground with a look of pure, unfiltered annoyance. Jeongkuk keeps his cool, looking up at her with that classic deadpan postman energy. She snaps back, questioning if his eyes are just for show or if he's actually blind. He doesn't even flinch, calmly telling her to go fetch her sister for the delivery. The woman looks totally blindsided, her expression shifting from anger to genuine confusion. He holds up the envelope, reminding her that the recipient has to confirm this personally. She looks visibly shaken, her hand flying to her face as the reality of his words sinks in. Jeongkuk keeps the pressure on, demanding she stop wasting time and go get her sister already. She finally turns and walks into the dark, while our boy just smirks, knowing he's got her hooked. Jeongkuk looks absolutely stunned, his eyes wide as he processes the massive hole in his logic. He stares at the cute, bunny-themed envelope, realizing it's the key to this entire twisted mystery. Jo Shinhai sits there looking calm and collected, totally unaware that her visitor is currently spiraling. He hands over the proof of delivery, his movements stiff as he tries to keep his cool. The courier forces a polite smile, acting like he isn't having a total internal meltdown right now. He confirms the receipt, but his mind is racing, trying to connect the dots on this job. A sudden realization hits him like a freight train, and his eyes widen in pure shock. He remembers the guard's warning about how no one ever successfully delivers mail to this place. Flashback to his handler questioning the mission, warning him that this whole setup smells like a trap. He stands there in the room, finally putting the pieces together and realizing he's been played. Jeongkuk keeps his cool, pressing the doctor on whether she's been running unauthorized mail. She stares him down with that icy look, clearly not impressed by his interrogation tactics. He pushes harder, demanding to know if she's been trading secrets behind the settlement's back. Our boy isn't backing down, his eyes locked on hers as he hunts for the truth. She scoffs at the accusation, acting like the whole idea is completely ridiculous. He keeps the pressure on, pointing out that surviving in this hellhole isn't exactly normal. She finally snaps, admitting she never writes back to the letters she receives. It turns out her brother is the one sending them, keeping the connection alive one-sidedly. Jeongkuk realizes the guy in the glasses is the one behind this whole risky operation. She leans back with a smirk, calling his bluff and cementing his status as anything but an ordinary postman. Jo Shinhai drops a bombshell question, asking if the masked postman has finally stopped showing up. She explains that this mysterious courier always kept his face hidden and looked totally sketchy. Jeongkuk is visibly confused by the mention of a mask, clearly not tracking who she means. A sudden realization hits him in the eyes as he connects the dots on that specific guy. He recalls the rumors of a masked postman whose low-performance stats never matched his actual skill. It turns out this guy was running off-the-books deliveries and likely had some heavy shadow backing. Shinhai wonders why anyone would wear such a creepy mask, while Jeongkuk just shrugs it off. She teases him about his own lack of a mask, sarcastically calling him better looking than average. Jeongkuk wraps up the business and heads out, even though she begs him to find her sister. He stands alone in the fading light, finally understanding the true weight of that kid's final words. Jeongkuk knows the job is far from finished, so he sets his sights on the captain. He confronts the guy about the betrayal, questioning why the doctor finally let someone inside. Jiang Hachial gets called out, looking like a deer in headlights as he stammers a response. Our boy doesn't let him off the hook, demanding to know if the captain is actually trustworthy. The captain finally shows up, greeting Jiangkuk with a cold, knowing look that spells trouble. He pivots the conversation to an escape plan, testing the waters to see if Jiangkuk is ready. Jiangkuk plays it cool, admitting he has thought about it but keeping his real cards hidden. The captain probes further about his preparations, clearly suspicious of the gear in that messenger bag. Jiangkuk realizes something is definitely up, noticing the slight shift in the captain's guarded expression. They trade words about survival supplies, but the tension in the room is thick enough to cut. Jiangkuk's eyes narrow as he drops the cold truth about leaving the weak behind. He argues that survival in this hellscape is all about ditching anything that slows you down. The other guy tries to push back with some idealistic nonsense about thinking ahead. Jiangkuk just gives him a blank stare, clearly not buying into that soft-hearted garbage. He reaches out and grabs his massive gear bag, his hand sliding over the fabric. Suddenly, he yanks the bag open with a sharp, aggressive motion that echoes through the room. A muffled, panicked yelp erupts from inside the container, catching him totally off guard. He stares down at the bag, realizing he's been hauling a stowaway this entire time. A hand claws at the opening as the person inside finally decides to crawl out. Zhou Xinhai emerges from the shadows of the bag, looking sheepish as she greets the stunned postman. Jiangkuk stands tall, casually dropping the news that he just met her sister. The girl looks totally blindsided, her eyes wide as she asks how he even knows her. He keeps it brief, explaining that the sister just wants her to get home safe. The conversation shifts to the captain, who is clearly sweating the new headcount. He realizes the number of escapees just doubled, making their already doomed plan even riskier. Joanna offers up more cash, desperate to secure her spot in this chaotic getaway. She flashes a charming, slightly nervous smile, hoping to stay in the good graces of our guy. Jiangkuk stares down the captain, questioning if he really thinks 3 people is enough for this. The captain drops the hammer, revealing there are actually 2 more people joining the crew. He confirms the last one is the mysterious mask, leaving Jiangkuk stunned by the sudden revelation. Jiangkuk is reeling from the news, questioning if that elusive masked courier is actually inside the settlement. The captain stares back with a cold, unbothered expression, clearly enjoying the look of shock on our guy's face. Our protagonist tries to play it cool, noting that postmen usually operate like lone wolves who avoid each other. A sudden realization flashes in his eyes. If the mask knows he's here, the whole mission just got way more dangerous. He's visibly annoyed, realizing that having a rival courier lurking in the shadows is going to be a massive headache. Jiangkuk decides they need to steer clear of the mask at all costs while they execute their escape plan. The captain reveals that the mask was actually in his office just a short while ago. He explains that he got the inside scoop directly from Captain Choi, putting the pieces of this puzzle together. Jiangkuk scoffs at the irony, calling out the settlement for acting like they don't deal with outsiders while doing exactly that. The command center looms in the distance, a dark hub of secrets where the mask has been pulling all the strings. The leadership at AAA has been using this mysterious figure to smuggle in outside goods, while the average soldiers are left to rot in this poverty-stricken hellhole with zero supplies. Jiangkuk realizes the mask has been playing them all, hoarding delivery fees and ammo like a dragon. He presses the captain on whether a deal was struck, but the guy claims it was a first-time meeting. The captain admits the mask only showed up to ask about outgoing mail, which feels like a total setup. Jiangkuk suspects the mask was actually testing the captain's loyalty, sensing something was off in the air. He agrees that the mask is acting like the command's lapdog, doing all their dirty, back-alley work. But then he pivots, realizing the power dynamic is probably flipped, and the command is actually the dog. He brushes off the threat of the mask for now, insisting the escape plan will go off without a hitch. Anna interrupts the tension, desperate to know how he managed to convince her stubborn sister to finally flee. Jiangkuk keeps his expression deadpan, dropping the bomb that his mission is far from over. The girl looks absolutely floored, her eyes wide as she realizes he's planning to use force. She's clearly struggling to process why a total stranger is going to such extreme lengths. Our boy doesn't even blink, standing his ground while she questions his bizarre, selfless dedication. He pivots to the business side, acknowledging the cores he was promised for this suicide run. The conversation shifts back to the core objective, reminding everyone that the delivery isn't complete. He admits he's a bit of a disaster, but he's committed to finishing the job properly. Flashback time, we see the moment Cho Young-han handed over the package, looking all corporate and shady. The handoff was simple, just a red envelope passing between them like a ticking time bomb. Jiangkuk recalls the final order, realizing he's got 48 hours to drag these people home alive. Jungkook drops the bombshell that his delivery isn't just some paper in an envelope. He's looking straight at Anna, making it clear that she and her sister are the cargo. Our boy keeps his composure, confirming he's going to get them both back to headquarters alive. Anna is practically begging him to keep his word, desperate for a way out of this hell. Jungkook notices something off about her hands, spotting the stiff fingers and a telltale callus. He reaches out to check her grip, but quickly brushes it off like it's absolutely nothing. He pivots back to the mission, declaring he'll either talk the doctor into leaving or drag her out. The captain lets out a dry, cynical laugh, clearly amused by the sheer audacity of this plan. He admits that he thought the rumors about this postman were just total hype and exaggeration. Turns out, the stories about him soloing an entire elite unit were actually the cold, hard truth. Jungkook stands at the door, his posture calm as he drops the truth about his real mission. He's been planning to bust everyone out of this dump since the very first second. Shinhai stares back, realizing that for this guy, a high-stakes prison break is just another Tuesday. He lays out the timeline for their escape, telling her to pack light and get ready for tomorrow. She's clearly caught off guard, stammering that she never actually agreed to leave this place. Jungkook doesn't care about her hesitation, pushing her to see that staying here is a death sentence. He challenges her cynical view of the world, reminding her that family is worth the risk. The doctor is left speechless, her eyes wide as she finally considers his promise of safety. He's already sabotaged the flak guns to ensure their path is clear, playing 4D chess with the command. But then the ground shakes, the guns are firing anyway, and the whole plan just went up in smoke. The group is caught in a downpour, their silhouettes reflecting in a puddle like a dark omen. A sudden, frantic shout rips through the rain, ordering everyone to scatter immediately. Jungkook is reeling from a brutal hit, his arm gushing blood as the reality of the ambush sets in. He stares back with a red laser sight locked onto his eye, knowing he's being hunted by a pro. The mask stands tall on the balcony, looming over the chaos like a grim reaper calling the shots.